One of the most fascinating things about RPGs is the exploration of choice and consequence, and hot goth GFs, but I digress. Rather than running along a linear path like a movie, or even most video games from other genres, RPGs allow us to chart our own destiny and be the authors of our own adventure. The choices we make can shape our journey and lead to different outcomes in the story that we wouldn't have experienced if we made a different choice. Out of all the studios whose games I've played over the years, Bioware stood out from the crowd when it came to giving the player a myriad of choices to explore in their playthroughs. Games like Mass Effect, Dragon Age, and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic were groundbreaking explorations of player agency and branching story paths. One of the most impressive quests I've ever seen comes from the main story of Dragon Age Origins. The Landsmeet is a pivotal moment in the story where the hero has to unite the nation of Ferelden politically so they can mobilize an army against an ancient dragon which threatens to destroy the land. While the premise itself is similar to many fantasy games and stories, it's the staggering amount of variation you can experience in this quest which really makes it stand out. When I completed the Landsmeet in my first playthrough of Origins many years ago, I was captivated by the wide range of outcomes to this quest. So I went to YouTube in search of a video that showed every outcome you could get in the Landsmeet. But surprisingly, I couldn't find a single video that actually showcased all the decisions you could make. Each video I watched was missing some crucial detail or edge case based on different origin stories, romances, or the disposition of characters like Alistair and Anora. No shade to these creators, by the way, because I did learn a lot from their videos. But I couldn't help but feel disappointed that no comprehensive video about the Landsmeet was out there on YouTube. Well, you know the old saying, if you want something done right, do it yourself. So in this video, we're going to take a comprehensive look at all the choices, consequences, and variations you can experience during the Landsmeet in Dragon Age Origins. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this is BioWare's most ambitious quest of all time, and why Origins is considered one of the best RPGs ever made. There will obviously be lots of spoilers along the way though, so keep that in mind if you've never played Dragon Age Origins. But without further ado, let's buckle up, grab some iced coffee, and dive into this exploration of the Landsmeet in Dragon Age Origins. If we zoom out to a bird's eye view, the Landsmeet is broken up into three parts: preparation, debate, and resolution. Preparation is the quests and conversations you have prior to arriving at the Landsmeet. This involves activities like gathering evidence of Loghain's crimes, brokering deals with influential nobles, and deciding how to orient yourself to Queen Anora. Gathering support prior to the Landsmeet debate is a crucial part to ensure your success or failure against Loghain. Debate is your performance during the Landsmeet itself. In addition to evidence and alliances made during the preparation phase, the dialogue choices you make in front of the assembly can make or break your case for who should go on the throne. Finally, resolution is where you choose once and for all who will rule Ferelden and lead the armies against the Archdemon. Your choice of origin story can also make an impact on your available choices. Specifically, male and female human nobles have exclusive choices that aren't accessible to other origins, and city elves can impact the Landsmeet as well. We'll get into that later in the video. But you know the best origin story of all is the one where you hit that like button and subscribe to Big Dan Gaming for more Dragon Age and RPG videos. Let's see if we can bump the channel up to 200,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Appreciate you, dude. So let's start off by walking through how we prepare for the Landsmeet, starting with the rescue of Queen Anora. This mission is one of your best opportunities to gather allies for the Landsmeet, as there are several figures connected to Ferelden nobility who are being held prisoner in Arlhau's estate. But the big problem with all these Landsmeet nobles is they didn't turn their opinions into cash because they weren't members of YouGov. YouGov is an internet-based market research company which conducts polls on a variety of different topics ranging from politics to pop culture. And you can start earning rewards, either cash or gift cards, by signing up for YouGov for free and sharing your opinions today. Most surveys only take 5 to 7 minutes to complete, which makes this an easy way to earn extra money on the side. I enjoyed knocking out a couple of quick surveys after wrapping up work for the day, and right now is a great time to get started with YouGov. Click on my link in the description to take surveys and start earning cash with YouGov right now. Big shout out to YouGov for sponsoring this video. The first section of the quest is fairly straightforward. get some guard uniforms, sneak into the estate, find Anora, who is trapped, and then proceed into the dungeons to confront Rendon Howe. Hilariously, if you bring Shale along as a companion for this quest, Erlina will ask you to swap her out of the party, since a golem can't really pull off a stealth mission of this kind.
You should leave your walking statue thing behind. It will never escape notice.
Yes. Certainly no way for me to blend in with all the other statues.
I will be right behind you.
How dare you discriminate against golems? That's stonist. Anyhow, after rescuing the Grey Warden Riordan, proceed through the dungeon and fight your way through Howe's guards. You will eventually run across a room where Howe's men are torturing a nobleman's son named Oswin. Saving this guy is very important for your cause, as we'll see later on. Another important prisoner is a man named Von Kendals, who plays a prominent role in the City Elf origin. He's currently slated to become Arl of Denerim, which is a position that Rendon Howe wants to take for himself. So naturally, he locked up his opposition. Kendals is a real scumbag who hates the elves, even to the point of assaulting Shiani during the City Elf origin. If you play as a City Elf, you can potentially kill Kendals during that origin story, and if you did that, he won't be here for obvious reasons. But if he's still alive, you can choose to free him, kill him, or leave him in his cell to rot. For the purposes of winning the Landsmeet Debate, freeing him is the best option, as you'll gain additional support against Loghain. Just a quick note, you do need to explicitly ask for his support at the Landsmeet during this dialogue. If you just free him from the cell, he will not appear during the vote, just to be clear. You can also extort Kendals into giving you a key to a chest with 40 sovereigns. He will even cough up the key before you let him out, if your coercion skill is high enough. At which point you can decide to renege on your side of the deal, and either kill him or leave him in his cell. It's really your call, but again, from the perspective of maximizing support at the Landsmeet, it's best to free him from his cell. The last important prisoner, who is situated near Von Kendals, is a Templar named Ermenric. He is in a terrible mental state and will refuse to leave the dungeon on his own, even after you open the cell for him. He will give you a ring and ask you to give it to his sister Alfstana, who happens to be a noble that we can win over for the Landsmeet. There are a couple of other prisoners here as well, including a City Elf and another crazy Templar named Rexel. But freeing these guys doesn't directly contribute to the Landsmeet Debate. The rest of the mission is pretty linear. Kill Rendon Howe, rescue Anora, and get confronted by Ser Cauthrien just before you escape. There's no way to riz your way out of this one, unfortunately. Your options are fight, turn yourself over and get arrested, or announce you're with Queen Anora, which also triggers a fight. The battle against Ser Cauthrien and her guards is very difficult to win. Not impossible, but quite a challenge. Thankfully, a loss here doesn't result in a game over. Instead, you'll be arrested and sent to Fort Draken, which triggers another mission where your party members have to break you out of jail. The ramifications of getting sent to Fort Draken are worth a video in itself, but since that section of the game doesn't make a direct impact on the Landsmeet, we'll save that for later, and let's just focus on the most relevant portion of this encounter, which is the fate of Ser Cauthrien. If you happen to kill Ser Cauthrien and all of her guards, and escape Aural's estate by brute force, then she will not appear at the beginning of the Landsmeet later in the game. But regardless of the outcome, once you regain your freedom, you'll want to visit the Nod Noble Tavern to gain support of several important people. If you approach Ban Alfstana, present her brother's ring, and tell her the story about what Loghain did to him, as well as Arl Eamon, then she will offer her support at the Landsmeet. But if you don't provide the ring, then you won't gain her loyalty. Likewise, Ban Sigurd will pledge his allegiance if you freed his son from the torture rack. Your specific dialogue choices here don't matter as much, since he'll give his support either way. You can also speak to Arl Wolf in the tavern at this time. We cannot win his support right now, however, he will be present at the Landsmeet and can be won over with a successful argument during the debate. There is also one more quest that you can pick up to win the favor of a mysterious noble. The quest is called Trial of the Crows, which is a series of assassination missions that ends with the rescue of a noble child kidnapped by Rendon Howe. If you complete all these objectives prior to the Landsmeet, then a mysterious unnamed noble will back the Grey Wardens at the Landsmeet.
The Warden helped me personally in a family matter.
Anyhow, back to the estate. Once Anora is rescued, she will ask to speak to the Grey Warden and propose an alliance. She wants to put herself forward for the throne instead of Alistair. The groundwork you can establish during this conversation will shift your options during the Landsmeet. If you completely ignore Anora and proceed through the rest of the missions without speaking to her, then she will side against the Wardens by default at the Landsmeet. Anora is primarily out for herself, and will do anything in her power to put herself on the throne. If she's willing to throw her own father under the bus, she'll do the same thing to you as well. So it's definitely a good idea to speak to her. Your first option is to propose a direct alliance with Anora, opting to side with her over Alistair.
That is good to hear. So, we have a deal, Warden. I trust you'll keep your end of the bargain.
This is the most straightforward choice for winning her support at the debate. However, you will ruin the alliance if you insist Loghain must pay for his crimes. While she is willing to go against her father, she does not want him to be executed. Your second option is to propose a political marriage between her and Alistair.
Ignoring that the man looks so much like Kaelan, my recently dead husband, if you'll recall, my main fear is that he might govern like Kaelan as well. And are you so truly eager to pawn the lad off on me anyway? I rather got the sense that you two might be. That is how my own marriage to Kaelan began. It still became more, in time. This doesn't bother you. I see. So be it then. Alistair does have Therin blood. It is the one thing I do not have, truth be told. A union might be considered a compromise, but is this something Alistair even desires? Let me say this. If Alistair is willing to stand back and allow me to continue governing the nation, then I would be willing to have him as my king. It is my understanding that governing does not appeal to him anyhow. If that is so, this is a compromise I can live with. Do so. I will be interested to hear what he has to say.
In order to do this, you will also need to convince Alistair to go along with this plan, which can be very tricky.
What do you think I should do? Go ahead and be king, just to let it happen? Marry her? As in marriage, as in be her husband? You've spoken to her about this? You did, didn't you? Why would you do that? Did you take a blow to the head? That's crazy. I suppose. I don't know how much of a leader I am, but at least I know she's a good ruler. Go ahead then. Tell her I'll do it if it comes to that. Now excuse me while I go have a small heart attack somewhere. No big deal, right?
The conversation has a different flavor if your Warden is in a romantic relationship with Alistair.
Marry her? As in marriage, as in be her husband? You've spoken to her about this? You did, didn't you? Why would you do that? What about us? I suppose so. It just seems strange that you should be the one to bring this up. Why do you think I should do this then? Tell me.
You can even torpedo your romantic relationship with Alistair if you're too forceful in your attempt to persuade him to marry Anora.
So I just saw Anora not long ago. Strange story. She gave me the strangest look. Like she was sizing up whether the cow was ready for slaughter. I asked her why. You know what she said? It would be like marrying his twin. I misheard that, right? Tell me I misheard. Marry her? As in marriage, as in be her husband? You've spoken to her about this? You did, didn't you? Why would you do that? What about us? So are you. More important than the throne by far. Why do you think I should do this then? Tell me. I see. Is that how it is? Fair enough. You want it to happen? Go and tell her it'll happen. But that is going to be the last order you give me. Now leave me alone.
If you manage to convince Anora and Alistair to marry, Eamon will basically be like, "Ain't no way, bro."
My hearing must be going. I could swear you just said that Alistair and Anora agreed to marry. Of course, but I hardly imagined that you could convince her so readily. I am impressed. This alliance can only help us. Well done, my friend.
Male human nobles also have an exclusive dialogue option to propose marriage directly to Anora.
Tempting. You are of Cousland blood, it's true. Despite the fact that you are also a Grey Warden, it would be unprecedented, but a man like you could make a fine prince and consort. Is this what you are actually proposing? My hand for your support? Very well. It is too good an opportunity to pass up. Once I am coronated, I will take your hand as my consort. So, we have a deal, Warden. I trust you'll keep your end of the bargain.
She will only agree to this situation if you basically accept that she will wear the pants in the relationship and rule Ferelden herself with you as her trophy husband. It's also worth mentioning that female human nobles can marry Alistair and rule with him, but we'll discuss that outcome in the resolution phase. Finally, you can tell Anora directly that you will not support her claim to the throne, which will make her an enemy during the Landsmeet.
Now, as for the alliance we were discussing. Ah, that's too bad. I'll tell you this, my father must be stopped. Once he is kept from the throne, if it should fall to Alistair, then I will be content. Then I wish you luck, Warden.
Winning the Landsmeet debate without Anora's support is quite difficult. It's not impossible, but you pretty much have to do everything else right to prevent her from swaying the assembly to support her and Loghain. But now that we've explored Anora's political machinations, let's talk about Unrest in the Alienage, where we uncover evidence of Loghain's most egregious crimes. This will probably be the shortest section of the video, because all the choices you make here will lead to the same outcome. Basically, we head to the Alienage, discover a Tevinter slaving operation masquerading as a hospital ward for supposed plague, and confront the ringleader of this operation, who of course is an evil bald man.
White plus bald equals toxic.
While you do have some choices in how you approach this interaction, all choices will point to the same outcome. The Warden will acquire slaver documents proving that Loghain was selling elves to Tevinter. Pointing out Loghain's illegal deals will be an important point against him during the Landsmeet. At this point, we've completed all the requirements that we need to start the Landsmeet. However, there is still one very important quest that will have an impact on the Landsmeet, and that is Alistair's personal quest, where he meets his long-lost sister.
Sister.
Depending on your choices during this quest, Alistair's personality can significantly change, which will impact his dialogue and disposition during the Landsmeet itself. This process is known as Alistair's hardening.
Stay hard!
Soft Alistair is whiny and doesn't want to take on the responsibility of being the king. The only thing that will really motivate him to take the throne is if he believes Loghain will be spared and made a Grey Warden. On the other hand, if Alistair gets hard,
Stay hard!
then he will step up to the plate and happily take on the role of becoming king. And if you're in a romantic relationship with Alistair, this personality change will also have an impact on your companionship with him. So let's walk through how we can harden Alistair and make him ready to take up the throne. First off, we have to meet Alistair's sister in Denerim. She's an extremely rude woman who seems like kind of a dumbass to boot. It's giving trailer trash vibes. Maybe it's her low-class British dialect.
What kind of tomfoolery are you folk up to? Them's at the castle.
To be fair, she has had a hard life as a single mother, so I can certainly understand why she's upset, but the way she just reams out Alistair for things that were outside of his control speaks volumes. Alistair is obviously a bit disappointed with how this turned out, and if you choose the dialogue option, everyone is out for themselves, this will harden Alistair's personality.
I guess I was expecting her to accept me without question. Isn't that what family is supposed to do? I feel like a complete idiot. Yes, I suppose you're right. I should. Let's just go. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
But for the hardening to sink in, we need to have one more conversation with Alistair at the party camp. If we choose any dialogue option except, "That's not what I meant, don't do that," then Alistair will become hardened.
Back when we left Goldanna's, you told me I needed to look out for myself more than I do. I'm beginning to think you were right. I need to stop letting everyone else make my decisions for me. I need to take a stand and think about myself for a change, or I'm never going to be happy. Then from this point on, I'll be looking out for myself more. I should have done this a long time ago. I just wanted to thank you. Being with you is the one bright spot out of everything that's happened. Let's go. We've got a lot left to do.
We can reverse Alistair back to a soft boy by choosing this dialogue option instead.
Back when we left Goldanna's, you told me I needed to look out for myself more than I do. I'm beginning to think you were right. I need to stop letting everyone else make my decisions for me. I need to take a stand and think about myself for a change, or I'm never going to be happy. Oh, I thought for sure that you... Never mind, I'm confused now and probably not making any sense. Just forget I said anything.
Okay, now that we've taken care of all the prep work, it's finally time to kick off the Landsmeet Debate. The moment you arrive at the Landsmeet, you will be confronted by Dueling Loghain's lackey, Ser Cauthrien. This is assuming you didn't gank her at Arlhau's estate during the Anora rescue mission. Cauthrien is appalled by the Grey Warden's incessant opposition to Loghain, so she decides to try and kill you before the Landsmeet can even begin. However, if you've got that riz, it is possible to talk her down from this insane course of action.
Warden, I am not surprised it has come to this. And Alistair, if you were even remotely worthy of being called Marik's son, you would already be in the Landsmeet. Now wouldn't you? You have torn Ferelden apart to oppose the very man who ensured you were born into freedom. But do not think you will get past me to desecrate the Landsmeet itself. The nobles of Ferelden will confirm my lord as regent, and we can finally put this to rest once you are gone. I have had so many doubts of late. Loghain is a great man, but his hatred of Orlais has driven him to madness. He has done terrible things. I know it, but I owe him everything. I cannot betray him. Do not ask me to. I never thought duty would taste so bitter. Stop him, Warden. Stop him from betraying everything he once loved. Please, show mercy. Without Loghain, there would be no Ferelden to defend.
You can also intimidate her instead, but there is a quirk with this dialogue choice. Apparently, it is bugged out and actually does the speech check against the poison-making talent instead of coercion. So even though my guy was rizzed out to the max, I still failed to intimidate this broad. Failing to talk her down, or choosing a confrontational dialogue option, will lead to a fight. After defeating Cauthrien, you can loot the Summer Sword, one of the best two-handed greatswords in the game, with 16.5 base damage and a 34 strength requirement. Most players will want to kill Cauthrien to get this weapon, because talking her down gets you no reward. However, if you do decide to spare Cauthrien, she will show up later in the game during the Warden's funeral, if the Warden sacrifices himself to defeat the Archdemon. If you did the appropriate legwork before the Landsmeet, then this section should be a cakewalk. But there still are some missteps which can cause you to lose the debate. In order to win the Landsmeet Debate, you need to gain at least 5 points of support from the following sources. Named nobles via completed quests or persuasive arguments. This includes characters like Ban Alfstana, Arl Wolf, and Von Kendals. Persuasive arguments. The Grand Cleric's denunciation of Loghain, and Anora's support of the Wardens. Anora will also be a significant roadblock if you did not form an alliance with her prior to the debate. As for the arguments you'll make, you definitely want to steer clear of simply asking for loyalty to Alistair or blaming Ostagar on Loghain. The exception is if the dialogue is accompanied by a persuasion check, in which case it can work in your favor if your character has a high coercion stat. There are 3 rounds of dialogue in the debate. The fourth will always be related to Anora's capture, so you essentially have 3 attempts to make compelling arguments before the Landsmeet. In the first round, it's best to choose the option focus on the Blight, not Orlais. Assuming your persuasion check is successful, you will win the support of Arl Wolf, whose district has been ravaged by the Darkspawn.
There are enough refugees in Mybanor now to make that abundantly clear.
The south has fallen, Loghain. Will you let Darkspawn take the whole country for fear of Orlais?
The Blight is indeed real, Wolf. But do we need Grey Wardens to fight it? They claim that they alone can end the Blight, yet they failed spectacularly against the Darkspawn at Ostagar. And they asked to bring with them 4 legions of Chevaliers. And once we open our borders to the Chevaliers, and we really expect them to simply return from whence they came?
It's also possible to fail the speech check about the Blight, but you will still win Arl Wolf's support even if you fail.
We've been treated to many stories of Darkspawn in the past few weeks, but we still have no evidence this is a true Blight.
If it's a story, it's a true one. The south has fallen, Loghain. Will you let Darkspawn take the whole country for fear of Orlais?
It's also possible to win him over in the third round of debate, making the same argument. However, there is a better choice for the third round, so it's best to lay out your claim right now. Demanding loyalty for Alistair will not get you anywhere in this round.
I knew Marek. And if he had another son, he would have acknowledged it openly. In fact, none of us had heard of any other heirs to the throne until you arrived, Warden. I doubt that's accidental.
Blaming Ostagar on Loghain can be a successful argument in this round, but only if you pass the speech check.
Some of us are curious, Loghain, about precisely what happened at Ostagar.
So, one of Kaelin's killers would dare speak of betrayal. You led our king to his death with your grandiose tales of griffins flying into battle. Do we truly have to listen to these childish accusations? So, one of Kaelin's killers would dare speak of betrayal.
In the second round, you'll have 3 different claims you can put forward. Blaming Ostagar on Loghain, exposing Loghain for selling elves into slavery, or exposing Rendon House crimes. I would definitely steer clear of blaming Ostagar on Loghain, since this dialogue option does not have a persuade check.
Must we listen to these baseless accusations? Some of us would like to discuss the matters at hand. You goaded him into making that charge. He believed the tales, Warden. He thought your handful of men would turn the tide for him. Strategy and consequences be hanged. What would you have me do? Kaelin's was not the only life in my hands. Should I have sacrificed the entire army for his mistake? Do not imagine that you can shame me with Kaelin's death. He was Marek's son. My king. No one regrets his loss more than I do.
But the second and third options are fair game for scoring points against Loghain. Assuming you freed Oswin at Arl Howe's estate, then his father, Ban Sigurd, will back up your claims about Rendon House crimes.
The Warden speaks truly. My son was taken under cover of night. The things done to him, some of them are beyond any healer's skill.
Howe was responsible for himself. He will answer to the Maker for any wrongs committed in this life, as must we all. But you know that. You were the one who murdered him. Whatever Howe may have done, he should have been brought before the Seneschal. There is no justice in butchering a man in his home.
If you did not rescue Oswin, then pointing out Howe's crimes will not work here.
Howe was responsible for himself. He will answer to the Maker for any wrongs committed in this life, as must we all. But you know that.
Mentioning Loghain's sale of the elves to Tevinter will also spark indignation from the Assembly.
What's this? There is no slavery in Ferelden. Explain yourself.
There is no saving the Alienage. Damage from the riots has yet to be repaired. There are bodies still rotting in their homes. It is not a place I would send my worst enemy. There is no chance of holding it if the Blight comes here. Despite what you may think, Warden, I have done my duty.
If you didn't earn Sigurd's support by releasing his son, then exposing Loghain's deal with slavers will win him over to your side. The third round of debate has even more options at our disposal. Claiming Loghain stole the throne from Anora, another appeal to loyalty to support Alistair's claim, another attempt to blame Ostagar on Loghain, exposing Loghain for sending a blood mage to poison Eamon, pointing out the Blight is the real threat if you didn't do so in the first round, and either bringing up Loghain's sale of elves or house crimes depending on which option you chose in round 2. Blaming Ostagar on Loghain or claiming he stole the throne are not very good arguments at this point in the Landsmeet.
Warden, Cailan was Marik's son. Had there been any chance of reaching him at Ostagar, I would have fought to my last breath to save him. But was I to sacrifice thousands of other lives when I saw that hope was gone? You Grey Wardens with your stories of valor, stories of heroic single combat with archdemons. You made Cailan believe war was an easy matter, of riding out in his new armor and collecting a victory that sat ripe and waiting for him. His death was only the beginning of your crimes here, Warden. By all means, let us speak of Anora, Warden, for this is a matter close to my own heart. What have you done with my daughter?
However, we can potentially convince the Landsmeet to accept Alistair's claim with a persuasion check.
Indeed. Do we not owe it to Merrick to see his son on the throne?
If he were a true son of Merrick, I would not hesitate to swear fealty to him, but I see nothing of Merrick in this pup.
It should be noted that this persuasion check only appears if you attempted to put forward Alistair's claim in an earlier round of debate. Otherwise, it will just show up as a regular dialogue option, which makes it a less compelling argument.
This Alistair could be the son of the stablemaster, for all we know. If he were a true son of Merrick, I would not hesitate to swear fealty to him, but I see nothing of Merrick in this pup.
But the best argument in round 3 is to expose Loghain for sending the blood mage Joan to poison Arl Eamon. Banaf Stana will back up your claim if you gave her Ermenric's ring. In this case, the Grand Cleric Elmina will denounce Loghain, which gives you a +2 in the Landsmeet Debate score.
I assure you, Warden, if I were going to send someone, it would be my own soldiers. I would not trust to the discretion of an apostate.
Indeed, my brother tells a very different tale. He says you snatched a blood mage from the Chantry's justice. Coincidence?
Do not think the Chantry will overlook this, Terran Loghain. Interference in a Templar's sacred duties is an offense against the Maker.
Whatever I have done, I will answer for later.
If you didn't gain Banaf Stana's support, then she will not back up your claims about Loghain's poisoning Eamon.
I assure you, Warden, if I were going to send someone, it would be my own soldiers. I would not trust to the discretion of an apostate. I neither know nor care who Eamon has offended enough to warrant assassination attempts.
The second best option here is to point out the threat of the Blight if you didn't already do so. This will win over Arl Wolf's support during the voting section.
I can vouch for the reality of the threat if anyone cares to doubt it.
No one disputes that the Blight is real. The only question is whether or not we believe that only Grey Wardens may end it. For all your claims, your exalted order failed spectacularly to defeat the Darkspawn at Ostagar. Does anyone expect you to fare better against the Archdemon?
Exposing Loghain for selling elves to Deventer or pointing out Rendon House crimes will also make for good arguments during this round, but they are not the best options available.
Selling elves? Explain this, Loghain.
This is war. Did you believe it would be like the old tales? Knights with pennants flying over battlefields where all outcomes are decided simply and with honor. War is cruel. Every soul who fought alongside Marek knows this. And in it, there are no such things as innocence, only the living and the dead, and the degrees of guilt both bear. Sacrifices were made. If they were too great, the Maker will judge me for it.
How took my only son? The things done to him? Some are beyond any healer's skill.
How was a grown man responsible for his own actions? He will answer to the Maker for his crimes, as must we all.
At this point, Loghain will accuse the Grey Wardens of kidnapping Anora and potentially killing her. You want to choose the dialogue option, "What? I did it to protect her from you."
But enough of this. I have a question for you, Warden. What have you done with my daughter? You took my daughter, our queen, by force, killing her guards in the process. What arts have you employed to keep her? Does she even still live?
And now Anora will make her grand entrance into the Landsmeet. If you made an alliance with Anora prior to the Landsmeet, then she will speak out against her father.
Lords and ladies of Ferelden, hear me. My father is no longer the man you know. This man is not the hero of Riverdane. This man turned his troops aside and refused to protect your king as he fought bravely against the Darkspawn. This man seized Kaelin's throne before his body was cold and locked me away so I could not reveal his treachery. I would have already been killed, if not for this Grey Warden.
However, if you failed to make a pact with Anora, then she will denounce the Wardens instead. If she denounces you, you'll want to choose the dialogue option, "What?"
Lords and ladies of Ferelden, hear me. This Warden has slandered and defamed Ferelden's greatest hero in a bid to put an imposter on Merrick's throne.
Oh, when she turned on us. What a shock. She seemed like such a nice despot.
How could she say that after everything we did for her? How cutthroat! Mother would adore her.
It has become clear to me, Warden, that the true threat to this nation is you. I offered you the chance to ally with me for the good of this nation, and you refused it. I will not allow you to destroy the throne Kaelin and I have held.
Anora's support or opposition makes the biggest difference in the Landsmeet, as it will score 3 points for you or against you depending on your choices. It is possible to win the Landsmeet debate without Anora's support, but you pretty much have to do everything else right. Freeing Oswin and Ermenric from Arlhau's estate, and then either freeing Von Kendall's or completing the Trial of the Crows, and then choosing good arguments during the debate will garner you enough support to defeat Anora if she goes against you. At this point, the nobles will all vote and declare a victor for the Landsmeet. You will immediately know whether you won or lost the debate based on the dialogue option from this ginger NPC.
I stand with the Warden. The Blight is coming. We need the Grey Warden.
I'm with Loghain. Who else could defeat the Blight? Loghain, I'm with you.
This bodes ill for us all.
If you lose the Landsmeet, Loghain will order you to be arrested, Eamon will resist, and a big fight breaks out on the floor. After mopping up a bunch of Loghain's forces, the Grand Cleric will demand that the Landsmeet be settled by a 1v1 duel. If you win the Landsmeet debate, you can skip this fight and go directly into the 1v1 duel against Loghain. However, you do still have the option to attack him as well, which brings about the same result as if you lost the debate. Whether you win the debate with Loghain or not, you will eventually have to defeat him in a 1v1 duel to decide the victor of the Landsmeet. You will have the opportunity to fight the duel yourself, have Alistair fight it for you, or choose another companion from your camp to carry out the fight. Here is how each companion responds when selected.
Will you face me yourself, or have you a champion? It is you or me the men will follow. So, let us fight for it. Prepare yourself. Then let us test the mettle of our would-be king. Prepare yourself.
Don't worry. I could do this blindfolded.
I've wanted a private word with him since Ostagar anyway.
Oh, I shall I? 'Tis so kind of you to volunteer me.
About sodding time. My ass has fallen asleep from all this talk. It's all pins and needles now.
Finally.
Am I the only one who sees the irony in this? Ah well, I do love to work in front of an audience.
I think the odds might be slightly in his favor at a test of strength, but it is your right to choose.
Warden, no. I'm afraid we can't leave the fate of all Ferelden up to your dog. Anyone with a leftover ham bone could buy his allegiance. Choose someone else.
Sadly, you cannot choose Barkspawn as your champion. What's with this canine discrimination, bro? Loghain is a very tough opponent who can stun you with his powerful warrior abilities. However, one way to cheese the fight is to run around and bait him to pull out his crossbow. I didn't even know this was possible until this happened during one of Wolfheart FPS's streams.
Loghain's really gonna fight with a crossbow? I mean, I'm okay with that. I might be able to survive that, to be honest with you.
So be it.
The game's too easy. I've been saying this to you guys over and over again. Freeze him?
I see.
Your champion has won.
Kind of feel guilty that he pulled out the crossbow, but should I feel guilty? That was his choice. It's not like he bugged out. He made a personal choice, and he decided that it'd be better to fight a mage with a crossbow. And he paid for it. That was like freaking... That was not a hard fight when it happened that way.
In any case, however you manage to defeat Loghain, he will yield before the Grey Wardens and throw himself on the mercy of the Landsmeet. If Alistair was the one who defeated Loghain in a duel, he will automatically execute Loghain by default.
So, there is some of Marek in you after all. Good.
Forget Marek. This is for Duncan.
However, if anyone else defeats Loghain, then Riordan will step in and argue to recruit him into the Grey Wardens. Alistair will be vehemently opposed to this action, giving one of the most impassioned speeches and best voice acting in the entire game.
Absolutely not. Riordan, this man abandoned our brothers and then blamed us for the deed. He hunted us down like animals. He tortured you. How can we simply forget that? Joining the Wardens is an honor, not a punishment. Name him a Warden and you cheapen us all. I will not stand next to him as a brother. I won't!
He's being childish. How many generals do you think Ferelden has? We can't afford to lose any of them to Alistair's tantrums if we want to survive the Blight.
Oh, but we can afford to lose a king? And the entire army that was abandoned at Ostagar? Whose tantrums cost us all that, I wonder? I didn't want to be king. I still don't. But if that's what it takes to see Loghain get justice, then I'll do it. I'll take the crown.
Pop off, King. Alistair gives us an ultimatum. It's either him or me. If you decide to spare Loghain, he will become a full companion in your party. However, Alistair will leave your party forever. If you kill Loghain, then Alistair remains as a companion, but it may nullify your agreement with Anora at the same time, depending on how you go about it. We'll get into more details about the variations in Loghain's and Alistair's fate in the next section, but from a bird's eye view, you will either execute Loghain on the spot and then choose a ruler, or spare Loghain and recruit him into the Grey Wardens. After deciding Loghain's fate, we finally arrive at the resolution phase, where your character chooses the next sovereign of Ferelden. Depending on your choices, there are 5 separate outcomes in total, each with their own minor variations within them, such as the fates of Loghain and Alistair. There are 3 big choices you can make prior to the Landsmeet itself, which will also impact your potential available choices. First, whether or not Alistair has been hardened. Second, whether or not the Warden talked to Alistair and Anora about a political marriage between them. And third, male human nobles can propose to marry Anora prior to the Landsmeet as well. Taking a broad view, the 5 potential outcomes to the Landsmeet are as follows. Option 1, Alistair rules alone. Option 2, Anora rules alone. Option 3, Alistair and Anora rule together. Option 4, Alistair and a female human noble warden rule together. And option 5, Anora and a male human noble warden rule together. So let's break down each of these outcomes, starting with Alistair rules alone. In order for Alistair to take the throne on his own, Loghain must be executed during the Landsmeet. There is no circumstance where Loghain can survive if Alistair is the sole ruler of Ferelden.
Can you see how disastrous a king he'd be? Putting his own selfish desires above the needs of his country? You can't seriously support him. do this. My father may have been wrong, but he is still a hero to the people.
Anora. Hush. It's over.
Stop treating me like a child. This is serious.
Daughters never grow up, Anora. They remain 6 years old with pigtails and skinned knees forever.
Father.
Just make it quick, Warden. I can face the Maker knowing that Ferelden is in your hands.
I will. I owe that to Duncan.
So it is decided. Alistair will take his father's throne.
I have a recurring nightmare that sounds just like this. All right. Yes. I guess it's decided then.
Anora, the Landsmeet has decided against you. You must now swear fealty to our king, and relinquish all claim to the throne for yourself and your heirs.
If you think I will swear that oath, Eamon, you know nothing of me.
What kind of something?
We cannot leave Ferelden in a state of civil war. We must have unity. If she will not swear fealty to you, Alistair, and renounce her claim to the throne, she is a threat to us all.
What do you want me to do exactly? Kill her? I can't do that. I guess... put her in the tower for now. Lock her up. Maybe we can find somewhere to send her. Later.
Thank you, Alistair. You show me mercy that I would not have shown you.
Very well then. Guards, take her away. Your Highness, would you address the Landsmeet?
Oh, that would be me, right? I never knew him, but from all I've heard of my father, what defined him was his commitment to protecting this land. I was getting there. Anyway, the Blight, yes. I may be Merrick's son, but I am also a Grey Warden. I took an oath. I swore I would stand and fight the Darkspawn, no matter the cost to myself. I can't break that oath just to wear the crown. I have to go with my fellow Warden to face the Blight. When the Blight is over, I'll come back and take up my duties, whatever they are, as king. Until then, I think Eamon will have to be my regent.
Then I can do Merrick's memory no less honor than you do. I accept. And may the Maker bless your efforts against the Darkspawn.
My fellow Grey Warden will, I hope, take Loghain's place as the leader of my armies. Shall we finish this thing together? Everyone, get ready to march. It's going to take all of Ferelden's strength to survive this Blight. But we will face it, and we'll defeat it! We'd better get going. Ferelden is depending on us.
Whether Alistair wants to take the throne or not will depend on whether or not he was hardened during his personal quest. A hardened Alistair will rise to the occasion and happily take on the duties as king.
So it is decided. Alistair will take his father's throne.
I accept this decision. I will be king, if the Landsmeet will have me.
Whereas soft boy Alistair will throw a tantrum and only want to take the throne in order to see Loghain get justice.
So it is decided. Alistair will take his father's throne.
I have a recurring nightmare that sounds just like this. All right. Yes. I guess it's decided then.
So it is decided. Alistair will take his father's throne.
Wait, what? No. When did this get decided? Nobody's decided that. Have they?
He refuses the throne. Everyone here has heard him. I think it's clear then. He abdicates in favor of me.
I hardly think you're the appropriate person to mediate this, Anora.
In my first playthrough, I was disappointed you cannot execute Anora if you choose Alistair, especially because the reverse is true. It is possible to execute Alistair if you put Anora on the throne, but there is a reason for Anora's plot armor. Even if you select Alistair as king, he can potentially die at the end of the game when you slay the Archdemon, depending on which choices you make. So keeping Anora alive is an insurance policy for Ferelden in the unfortunate event that Alistair dies while confronting the Blight. Assuming Alistair becomes king and survives the end of the game, he will make brief cameo appearances in the Awakening DLC, Dragon Age 2, and Dragon Age Inquisition. As for female wardens who romance the would-be king Alistair, there are drastically different outcomes depending on whether he was hardened or not. If softboy Alistair is put on the throne, he will dump the female warden as his sense of duty compels him to find a queen who can sire his children.
We need to talk. I don't really question why you did what you did. I didn't want to become king and you knew that. But it had to be. But being king, that raises some questions about us. About you and me. I'm not so sure of that. I've thought of almost nothing else since the Landsmeet. Believe me. First, there's the fact that both you and I are Grey Wardens. It's not just a question of obligation, but of blood. You know that Grey Wardens don't usually live to become old, right? As king, I'll be required to have a child. Even more so because my death is assured. That's assuming that someone with the taint can or even should have a child. No, I'm not. I mean, both of us have tainted blood. Both of us will die young. I will need to find a wife. One who can bear a child. Who will live to raise it. I don't relish it, but I will have a duty as the king. You mean a great deal to me. I was hoping that it would lead to something more, but I have to face what this means. Yes, I guess I am. I know this is selfish of me, but if we continue as we have been, I'm just not sure I will be able to do this later. I have to do it now. I'm sorry. No, of course not. I said I understand why you decided what you did, and I do. But at the same time, I cannot avoid what that entails. If I don't end it now, I fear I never will be able to. I'm sorry, but I have no choice. No. We still have our duty as Grey Wardens to fulfill. That hasn't changed. I think it is best. For both our sakes. I'm sorry too. I need to go back to the camp. Be by myself for a while. Alienage has left for Redcliffe. He says the army has gathered there and is almost ready to march. As soon as we're ready, we should head to Redcliffe ourselves. The Blight awaits, right?
However, if Alistair was hardened, you can convince him to stay in a relationship with the female warden.
If I don't end it now, I fear I never will be able to. I'm sorry, but I have no choice. No, of course not. I said I understand why you decided what you did, and I do. But at the same time, I cannot avoid what that entails. No. We still have our duty as Grey Wardens to fulfill. That hasn't changed. I think it is best. For both our sakes. What is the alternative? Shall I ignore my duty instead? Make my queen a laughingstock as I carry on with whomever I please? You're right. Of course you're right. Damn them all anyhow. If they want to make me king, then I'll be king. And I'll do exactly what I want to do. I feel like such an idiot for bringing this up now. Can you ever forgive me? Oh, that sounds rather saucy. We'll have to discuss my punishment later on, I see. Alienage has left for Redcliffe. He says the army has gathered there and is almost ready to march.
Female human nobles who are romantically involved with Alistair have a unique ending, which we'll touch on later. But for now, let's see what happens if Anora rules alone. If you decide to put Anora on the throne, then you can choose to execute Loghain or let him live. However, if you decide to spare Loghain, then Alistair will spurg out and leave the Grey Wardens and your party forever.
I didn't want to be king. I still don't. But if that's what it takes to see Loghain get justice, then I'll do it. I'll take the crown.
Listen to this. Can you see how disastrous a king he'd be, putting his own selfish desires above the needs of his country? You can't seriously support him.
You're siding with her? How could you do this to me? You, of all people. What's wrong with you? He's repeatedly tried to kill us both, and you side with him over me? Isn't it? I don't know. I'm not sure I know what's true anymore. All I know is I can't let this pass. Not and still live with myself. I guess I don't have any choice, do I? I'm leaving.
I'm afraid it's not so simple as that, Alistair.
You already got what you wanted. Your murdering father gets a place amongst the Grey Wardens. What else could you want from me?
Your life, unfortunately. So long as you live, rebellions can be raised in your name. Our land cannot endure another civil war. I must call for your execution. This is what you would ask? Very well. Though I think it a mistake. Alistair, you may leave on condition that you swear before this Landsmeet that you renounce all claim to the throne for yourself and all your heirs.
That's what it'll take, huh? Fine. I don't want anything to do with this place or any of you people. Ever. I swear it. Time for me to go. That does make it easier. Take care of yourself.
And now, lords and ladies of Ferelden, there is still a blight to defeat and armies to gather. And I appoint this man to lead us in both. We will not allow this land be further threatened by the Archdemon. Gather your forces and await the Warden's command. On the morrow, we shall begin our struggle against the greatest threat Ferelden has ever faced. And we shall triumph over it, for we are Ferelden.
In this scenario, Alistair will become an alcoholic, and you can find him drinking his sorrows away in a Kirkwall tavern in Dragon Age 2.
I am the Prince of Ferelden. I'm telling you.
He keeps saying that.
That's because it's true.
He does look a little like King Cailan. Well, now he's drunk in a bar in the ass end of Kirkwall. But aren't we all?
Oh, just leave me alone. I've had enough of people like you. You're all the same.
How about I buy the next one?
I don't need another drink. Okay, maybe I do. Just one. Or two.
Now you've done it. He'll keep on like this all day.
You sound like Morrigan. Stupid Grey Wardens and their stupid rituals. Why does anyone take the joining anyway? What are the Wardens good for? It's a stupid club, that's what it is. Everyone hanging around, talking about their taint. I don't need it. That's right. I said it.
If Loghain survives, he will make a cameo appearance in the Awakening DLC and replace Stroud as the Grey Warden contact during the main story of Dragon Age Inquisition. If you're really cold-blooded, you can also allow Anora to execute Alistair when he tries to leave over your decision to spare Loghain.
I'm leaving.
I'm afraid it's not so simple as that, Alistair.
You already got what you wanted. Your murdering father gets a place amongst the Grey Wardens. What else could you want from me?
Your life, unfortunately. So long as you live, rebellions can be raised in your name. Our land cannot endure another civil war. I must call for your execution.
Did someone replace my fellow Grey Warden with a pit viper when I wasn't looking? What happened to you? Can you hear yourself? I'm going to be thrown on the pyre along with Duncan and all the others, am I? Nothing I did counts for anything? Really? And here I was thinking how you left me no choice at all.
Guards, take him away, please.
If you want to put Anora on the throne and keep Alistair in your party, then you must execute Loghain at the Landsmeet. In this case, assuming Alistair doesn't sacrifice himself at the end of the game, he will make cameo appearances as a Grey Warden in Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition. If Anora is the sole ruler of Ferelden, she will make cameo appearances in the Awakening DLC and Dragon Age Inquisition as well. But why choose a side when you can convince Alistair and Anora to marry each other and rule jointly, which brings us to outcome number 3. Loghain's fate can go either way in this scenario. However, certain conditions must be met to maintain the marriage, whether Loghain lives or dies. If Loghain is executed, and Alistair is the one who takes his life, then Anora will call off the marriage.
As the arbiter of this dispute, what is your decision? Who will lead Ferelden?
Plans change. Nothing could convince me to marry my father's murderer.
On the other hand, if Alistair has not been hardened, then he will refuse to marry Anora in the case where Loghain is spared. The only way to spare Loghain and keep the marriage intact is if Alistair was hardened prior to the Landsmeet.
I didn't want to be king. I still don't. But if that's what it takes to see Loghain get justice, then I'll do it. I'll take the crown.
Listen to this. Can you see how disastrous a king he'd be? Putting his own selfish desires above the needs of his country? You can't seriously support him.
And I thought you weren't going to stab me in the back. Funny how nothing ever turns out like you thought.
Alistair, compose yourself.
Fine, you want Loghain and the Grey Wardens so badly? Then I'll be leaving the Wardens to marry Anora. Yes, I do. You left me no choice. I'm sorry.
This can be discussed later. We are keeping the Landsmeet waiting.
Right.
And now, lords and ladies of Ferelden, there is still a blight to defeat and armies to gather, and I appoint this woman to lead us in both. We will not allow this land be further threatened by the Archdemon. Gather your forces and await the Warden's command. On the morrow, we shall begin our struggle against the greatest threat Ferelden has ever faced. And we shall triumph over it, for we are Ferelden.
In this case, Alistair will leave the Grey Wardens, and Loghain will become a full party member. Setting up the marriage between Alistair and Anora is best done prior to the Landsmeet. However, you can convince a hardened Alistair to marry Anora and spare Loghain on the spot.
Can you see how disastrous a king he'd be? Putting his own selfish desires above the needs of his country? You can't seriously support him.
You thought... You know what? Fine. I don't care anymore. Let Loghain take the joining. I'm done with the Wardens. I'll stay here, marry Anora, and be king. Right.
And now, lords and ladies of Ferelden.
I tried to persuade Alistair and Anora to marry after killing Loghain and without speaking to them prior to the Landsmeet, and yeah, it didn't work out.
You thought... No! Just
No! Did you take a blow to the head? I'd rather marry the archdemon.
Not even if the Maker himself appeared and commanded it, Warden.
However, if you arrange the marriage prior to the Landsmeet, and someone other than Alistair executes Loghain, then it is possible to persuade them to go along with the marriage.
As the arbiter of this dispute, what is your decision? Who will lead Ferelden?
We do. I believe this is what King Merrick wanted. To see his blood tied to my father's to begin a new line of Ferelden kings.
I may be Merrick's son, but I am also a Grey Warden. I took an oath. I swore I would stand and fight the Darkspawn, no matter the cost to myself. I can't break that oath just to wear the crown. I have to go with my fellow Warden to face the Blight.
Until then, I shall stay in Denerim and rule in my husband's absence, as I did for Kaelin. But I trust Alistair shall reach a more heroic ending.
My fellow Grey Warden will, I hope, take Loghain's place as the leader of my armies. Shall we finish this thing together? Everyone, get ready to march! It's going to take all of Ferelden's strength to survive this blight. But we will face it, and we'll defeat it!
Ferelden is depending on you all.
If Alistair and Anora both rule jointly, and assuming Alistair survives at the end of the game, then Anora will make an appearance during Awakening, Alistair will show up as king in Dragon Age 2, and both of them will make a cameo appearance during Dragon Age Inquisition. Setting up Alistair with Anora will have an impact on your relationship if you're romantically involved with Alistair. Softboy Alistair will choose to break off the relationship, same as with Alistair ruling alone, but hardened Alistair can be convinced to keep the female warden as his mistress. However, if you spared Loghain and have Alistair marry Anora, then he will absolutely hate your guts if he was in a relationship with you.
Oh, there you are. Come to offer congratulations, I suppose? Maybe you intend to throw me a party to celebrate my engagement. There isn't any us. There's me, and then there's the woman who spared Duncan's murderer. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for it to come out like that. I don't know why you made Loghain a Grey Warden, but he's tainted it for me. The man is a traitor, and you gave him the greatest honor I can think of. There is no way to make that right! No way at all. But why should I complain, right? I'm the king now, and with a beautiful fiancée who is going to remind me of her father every time I look at her. I'll make the best of it, I guess. I'm not going to roll over and let Anora rule, that's for sure. Well, good luck, I suppose. You have a lot to do now. And so do I.
Having Alistair and Anora get married is the best of both worlds, but there are two more niche outcomes that are only available to human noble origin characters. If you are a male human noble character, then you can propose to marry Anora yourself prior to the Landsmeet. Loghain can either live or die in this scenario. However, if you decide to execute Loghain, then Alistair must be the one to kill him. Anora will not agree to marry anyone who slays her father with his own hands.
Are you mad? You think I would marry my father's murderer?
If you will not accept the Warden's unexpected and generous offer, then Alistair shall be king.
This is where I wake up, usually. Or everyone points and laughs because I've no clothes on.
Anora, the Landsmeet has decided against you. You must now swear fealty to our king, and relinquish all claim to the throne for yourself and your heirs.
But assuming Alistair was the one to kill Loghain, then Anora will keep her end of the bargain.
As the arbiter of this dispute, what is your decision? Who will lead Ferelden?
My husband, the king consort, the general of my armies, and the hero who will save Ferelden from this blight. My first act as queen must be to insist on receiving Alistair's oath before all the Landsmeet, to relinquish all claim to the throne for himself and his heirs.
Oh, I never wanted it. I mean, yes, of course. Happily, in fact.
And now, lords and ladies of Ferelden, there is still a blight to defeat and armies to gather. and I appoint this man to lead us in both. We will not allow this land to be further threatened by the Archdemon. Gather your forces and await the King Consort's command. On the morrow, we shall begin our struggle against the greatest threat Ferelden has ever faced. And we shall triumph over it, for we are Ferelden.
Anora will really be the true ruler in this scenario, as you are not her king, but her prince consort, whatever that means. There is a twist to this scenario if Alistair was hardened prior to the Landsmeet. If you let a hardened Alistair slay Loghain, then you will brick your marriage to Anora, because Aemon will step in and automatically give the throne to Alistair before you can say anything.
So it is decided. Alistair will take his father's throne.
I accept this decision. I will be king, if the Landsmeet will have me.
Anora, the Landsmeet has decided against you. You must now swear fealty to our king, and relinquish all claim to the throne for yourself and your heirs.
If you think I will swear that oath, Aemon, you know nothing of me.
We cannot leave Ferelden in a state of civil war. We must have unity. If she will not swear fealty to you, Alistair, and renounce her claim to the throne, she is a threat to us all.
Put her in the tower for now. If I fall against the Blight, then she can have her throne. If not, then we'll see.
You would give me a chance for the throne after all this?
I said if I fall, Anora. If I fall, the throne falls to you. I won't kill you while there's a chance that could happen. Somebody has to treat this Blight seriously.
That is uncharacteristically wise of you.
Yes, well, don't let it get around. I have a reputation.
Very well then. Guards, take her away. Your Highness, would you address the Landsmeet?
Oh, that will be me, right? I never knew him, but from all I've heard of my father, what defined him was his commitment to protecting this land. Maker's breath. When the Blight is over, I'll come back and take up my duties, whatever they are, as king. Until then, I think Aemon will have to be my regent.
Then I can do Merrick's memory no less honor than you do. I accept. And may the Maker bless your efforts against the Darkspawn.
My fellow Grey Warden will, I hope, take Loghain's place as the leader of my armies. Shall we finish this thing together? Right. The Blight is coming. Nobody can deny that now. Everyone, get ready to march! It's going to take all of Ferelden's strength to survive this Blight. But we will face it, and we'll defeat it! We'd better get going. Ferelden is depending on us.
Now, on the other hand, if you decide to spare Loghain and try to marry Anora, here's where things get really spicy. If Alistair was hardened prior to the Landsmeet, then he will protest the decision and basically be like, "Fuck all y'all, I'm king, bitch!"
I see I need to take matters into my own hands. I demand justice. And that means I take the throne. I will be king.
Listen to this. Can you see how disastrous a king he'd be? Putting his own selfish desires above the needs of his country? You can't seriously support him. My husband, the king consort, the general of my armies, and the hero who will save Ferelden from this blight.
You're siding with her? How could you do this to me? You, of all people. I did once. You're the one who convinced me differently, if you recall. You said I should stand up for myself. Well, I'm standing. Here I am. Make me king, not her. Being a good king is about more than the right breeding. And I thought we were friends. I guess I was wrong. Here's my decision, then. I'm no longer a Grey Warden. I'm leaving.
I'm afraid it's not so simple as that, Alistair.
You already got what you wanted. Your murdering father gets a place amongst the Grey Wardens. What else could you want from me?
Your life, unfortunately. So long as you live, rebellions can be raised in your name. Our land cannot endure another civil war. I must call for your execution.
No, she's probably right. The job wasn't finished at Ostagar, right? And it should be, just to be on the safe side. I thought we were friends. I guess now's as good a time as any to find out what that's worth. One day I hope you get what's coming to you. All of you!
Guards, take him away, please.
If Alistair wasn't hardened, however, the dialogue will be a bit different, and he will leave the Wardens forever to become a drunk, assuming you don't let Anora execute him.
You can't seriously support him. My husband, the King Consort, the general of my armies, and the hero who will save Ferelden from this blight.
You're siding with her? How could you do this to me? You, of all people. What's wrong with you? He's repeatedly tried to kill us both, and you side with him over me? I'm not. I'm perfectly lucid. I will not stand beside Loghain, and neither should you. I guess I don't have any choice, do I? I'm leaving.
I'm afraid it's not so simple as that, Alistair.
You already got what you wanted. Your murdering father gets a place amongst the Grey Wardens. What else could you want from me?
Your life, unfortunately. So long as you live, rebellions can be raised in your name. Our land cannot endure another civil war. I must call for your execution. This is what you would ask? Very well. Though I think it a mistake. Alistair, you may leave on condition that you swear before this Landsmeet.
I have done what was needed for the good of Ferelden.
That's what it'll take, huh? Fine. I don't want anything to do with this place or any of you people. Ever. I swear it. Time for me to go. You heard Anora. I do, or I get to join Duncan. Nice, huh? Have fun ending the blight. Or whatever. I guess you made your decision, right? So goodbye.
And now we come to outcome number 5. If you're a female human noble warden, then you can propose to marry Alistair directly and rule jointly by his side.
As the arbiter of this dispute, what is your decision? Who will lead Ferelden?
Good choice.
Anora, the Landsmeet has decided against you. You must now swear fealty to our king, and relinquish all claim to the throne for yourself and your heirs.
If you think I will swear that oath, Eamon, you know nothing of me.
We cannot leave Ferelden in a state of civil war. We must have unity. If she will not swear fealty to you, Alistair, and renounce her claim to the throne, she is a threat to us all.
What do you want me to do exactly? Kill her? I can't do that. I guess... put her in the tower for now. Lock her up. Maybe we can find somewhere to send her. Later.
Thank you, Alistair. You show me mercy that I would not have shown you.
Very well then. Guards, take her away. Your Highness, would you address the Landsmeet?
Oh, that will be me, right? I never knew him, but from all I've heard of my father, what defined him was his commitment to protecting this land. I was getting there. Anyway, the blight, yes. I may be Merrick's son, but I am also a Grey Warden. I took an oath. I swore I would stand and fight the Darkspawn, no matter the cost to myself. I can't break that oath just to wear the crown. I have to go with my fellow Warden to face the Blight. When the Blight is over, I'll come back and take up my duties, whatever they are, as king. Until then, I think Al-Eamon will have to be my regent.
Then I can do Merrick's memory no less honor than you do. I accept. And may the Maker bless your efforts against the Darkspawn.
My fellow Grey Warden will, I hope, take Loghain's place as the leader of my armies. Shall we finish this thing together? Everyone, get ready to march! It's going to take all of Ferelden's strength to survive this blight. But we will face it, and we'll defeat it! We'd better get going. Ferelden is depending on us. So, strange story. Tell me if you've heard this one. This fella gets made king, and then gets engaged, all on the same night. I'm not thrilled with the idea of being king. I never wanted it, I told you that, yet here I am. Not much to be done now. I suppose I'm more curious about, you know, the engagement. I like the idea, but are you sure? Oh, well, good then. They'll expect an heir, you know. With the taint in our blood, it's hard enough for a Grey Warden to have a child on their own. For two of them, every Grey Warden I knew who had children had them before they took the joining. Having an heir might not be possible. Well, there's a cheery thought. I suppose this is something we'll just have to deal with later. My coronation isn't going to happen for some time yet, and we've still the Darkspawn to fight. Al-Eamon has left for Redcliffe, and he says the armies have almost finished gathering there.
Loghain must be executed for this option to be available, and Anora will get locked away in a castle. It is worth pointing out that if Alistair dies at the end of the game, Anora will become queen instead. No Warden character can become the sole ruler of Ferelden. So there you have it. We've walked through every major choice and consequence of the Landsmeet in Dragon Age Origins. This has been a video I've been wanting to make for about 3 years now, but I never managed to scrape together enough time to do all these different playthroughs to stress test the full limits of this quest until now. Thank you all for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to Big Dan Gaming for more Dragon Age and RPG videos. Big shout out to all the channel members for supporting my content. Until next time, this has been Big Dan. I should go.